What's up guys, Taisatsu here. Summer is just around the corner as well as the upcoming new cola, and today I'm here to pick your interest on today's featured unit, Seaside Bellona. What was once speculated to be as a mediocre hero, now proven to be one of the best DPS units in the game. Join me today as I cover her competitive history. As usual in this series, I'll be briefly going over a hero's lore, stats, and viability throughout the game. With all of that out of the way, let's dive straight into Seaside Bellona's hero history. The ace of the Phantom CIC, brighter than the sun. Bellona has come to Rangar to help Karen and the Public Security Club to cope up with the influx of summer visitors. Although she claims she's here to watch over Cez, it seems that her true goal is to relax in the resort. Released on August of 2019, Seaside Bellona didn't make a huge splash into the competitive scene. A lot of people were gearing SSB for Wyvern hunts since she fits that role really well. And to this day, she's still one of the best units in Wyvern hunts. Back then, some people were building her as a cleaver with decent speed and high attacking stats, while equipped with either Portrait or her own artifact, Rengar Specialty Drink. At first, people were brushing off the Drink artifact. Shortly after, it was discovered that Drink had a really good attack scaling while ignoring a percentage of the enemy's defense. This effect still works on top of an already defense broken unit. And this right here was the start where SSB made a huge splash into the competitive scene. Top players started to build SSB with high attack and bulky stats, sacrificing speed, some crit chance, and crit damage. When she's paired with Knights and Soul Weavers, SSB can safely auto most arena defenses. Shortly after, SSB's usage skyrocketed on both arena offense and defense, as well as Guild War defenses. Equipped with Rengar Specialty Drink, SSB dominated the meta. Back then, there wasn't really a meta defense, but you can commonly see FCC and SSB often paired together. SSB then continued to be the premier DPS unit in arena offense in the following months. On October of 2019, Bazaar was buffed into the monster that he is today. This hindered SSB's usage quite a bit, but shortly after, some top tier players slotted SSB together with their Bazaars on defense. Bazaar also pairs well with SSB on arena offense to get rid of FCC barriers and preventing units like Elena to provide buffs onto her team. SSB has a really overloaded kit. There were a lot of area effect damage in the meta, and SSB takes advantage of that due to her S2 extra attack mechanic. And when paired together with Rengar's Specialty Drink, her S2 alone can chip down and kill enemies. It also wasn't very easy to kill SSB since she had a built-in protection in her kit, and she is often built very tanky. Because of this, SSB dominated the meta alongside with Bazaar and Arbiter Vildred. Back then, I remembered a lot of people calling for a nerf on SSB since she was really oppressive in the meta, but since she's a limited unit, it was very unlikely for the developers to nerf her. This was also the same case with Dizzy. She was also a really strong unit that warped the meta for quite a lot of months, but a nerf didn't happen. Back to the topic at hand, SSB continued to be oppressive in the meta. Then, on January of 2020, the developers released Pavel. Now, Pavel was designed to be an SSB counter, with his S3 ignoring damage sharing effects. Unfortunately, Pavel's release didn't hinder SSB's usage in arena defenses. Pavel is a pretty stat-hungry unit. It was also inconsistent to counter SSB since she's often paired with FCC. Also, did I mention that Charles rose up in usage? Well, when Pavel Soul burns S2 and Charles procs on Elbrus, it's pretty much game over for Pavel. SSB then continued to dominate the meta in both Arena and Guild Wars. Fast forward on April of 2020, this is the time period when the Reforged system was introduced. This new system solidified SSB builds as a bruiser type of unit. This update made SSB's stats tankier and stronger in terms of attack stat. Some people started to slot in some crit chance for more additional damage while maintaining her bulk and high attack stat. While we're at it, a new unit was released on the same fateful month, which ruined Seaside Bellona's vacation. April of 2020 is when Rowana was released, and she was the answer that we've needed to counter SSB. Rowana's kit is quite simple. She has an AoE Revive S3, an S1 attack that provides a barrier, and a passive where she recovers health of all allies when an ally is attacked by an extra attack, counter attack, dual attack, and increases combat readiness of all allies by 5% each per ally attacked. This unit alone made SSB's usage in arena defenses drop. SSB's kit revolves around her S2 and the drink that comes with it. The fact that Rowana brushes off the damage from it is huge while giving her team a significant boost in combat readiness. Rowana then became a really popular unit on arena defense in order to prevent players in using SSB on offense. Despite SSB having unbuffable and unhealable in her kit, Rowana still hard counters SSB. Since then, Rowana solidified herself as one of the best units on arena defenses. That pretty much covers up Seaside Bellona's dominance in the arena. Now let's move on to RTA, World Arena Season 1 or Showdown Season. As you all know, RTA is a completely different playground from Arena and Guild Wars. Looking back, Season 1 was like the Wild West of Epic 7 metas. There wasn't really a meta back then. Obviously, people were picking the meta units from Guild Wars and Arena, as well as their most well-built units. But among those well-built units being picked is Seaside Bellona. SSB had the highest overall pick rate back in Season 1. Back then, SSB only had one true counter to her name, being Rowana, but players can avoid the Rowana counter pick by either picking it themselves or banning it. This gave leeway for SSB to dominate the World Arena landscape. The safest option to counter SSB was to control her since Bazaar was also a top tier unit in this season. But by the end of Season 1 of World Arena, a new meta slowly emerged consisting of tanks and bruisers. SSB contributed to this meta since she's naturally bulky, and she was also one of the premier DPS units in this meta. World Arena Season 2, or Endeavor Season. The tanky meta that emerged from the end of Season 1 picked up this season due to the players abusing the Frenzy mechanic. In case you didn't know, every tick of Frenzy increases the overall damage output of every unit in the field. Before I go on, I would like to talk about Last Rider Crow first. He was released around September of 2020. Last Rider Crow was also once speculated to be a mediocre unit, but he's quickly proven himself to be one of the best units in the game. His kit naturally counters SSB as well. There were a lot of area of effect damage this season in the form of Alencia's S3, FCC S3, A Taiwan S3, RB, and a lot more others. SSB thrives against units with a lot of AoE attacks, but with Last Rider Crow in the picture, it becomes a detriment to both herself and her team. But despite this, SSB is still a top tier pick in this season. She still offered a lot to the table with her crippling debuffs and raw AoE damage output for both her S2 and S3. World Arena Season 3 or Ardor Season. Early on, this season was dominated by both Cerise and Fairy Tail Tenebria. This is also the season where the developers changed the Frenzy mechanics. Before, it used to increase every unit's overall damage output. They've now changed it to increase every unit's attack stat. They've also added an effectiveness increase with each stack of Frenzy. Despite the changes to the Frenzy mechanic, tanky or bruiser comps are still viable. SSB was actually a solid answer against control comps, assuming that you brought a unit that could cleanse out the debuffs. Control players usually don't draft Rowana, and even if they do, SSB can pierce through control comps since they aren't naturally bulky. The other half of Season 3 is when the Golden Boys came to light. These trio of units don't really have any hard counters to their kit. They also offer a lot of utility and damage output to the table. Unfortunately, SSB wasn't too hot this season. The Golden Boys were a huge priority pick this season alongside with FCC, Landy, Spectre Tenebria, and RB. But make no mistake, SSB still saw a healthy amount of play as a 5th or 4th pick. It was obviously very risky nowadays to pick SSB early on since there are a lot of units and combination of units out there that can shut her down. World Arena Season 4 or Skyward Season. Now, I was actually debating whether or not to cover this season since it's still pretty early on, but here I am. Smilegate released a new ML5 that completely renders SSB's kit not to function at all. And that unit is Solitary of the Snow. Solitary's passive basically makes focus-based units not gain any focus at all on their attacks or passively. SSB's S2 extra attack? Obsolete. Rylai's focus bar? He doesn't dodge anyway, so who cares? Shu? Who even drafts Shu? RB? Well, he could still gab you with his S3, so good luck with that. Overall, Solitary doesn't affect SSB too much, since SSB is usually the 5th or 4th pick within the draft. So far, Season 4 is looking like Season 3 meta-wise. The picks still revolve around the Golden Boys, and it's still looking like it isn't changing anytime soon. So that is Seaside Bellona's hero history. In conclusion, SSB is still the monster that she was back then. It's just that there are a lot of hard counters to her kit now, so be cautious around those units. But overall, don't sleep on her. She's just too good not to use in PvP, as well as PvE of course. Also, her ban is around the corner, so if you're a new player, good luck on both the collab banners and the summer banners. I believe in you. If you'd like to, leave a comment below on what unit you'd like to see next. I do plan on making Spectre Tenebria next, but that project may take a while since I don't own her, so yeah. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and hit that subscribe button, it helps me out a lot. Until next time.